Go getting the guys locked in this week?
No, and they've been good week in and week out. So, but anytime you end up playing a game of this magnitude in week 10, it's that much easier. So they've earned it though, just like the Montana State guys have earned it to be put in a position where you get to play in a big game like this.
You talk about consistency of approach week in and week out. How does it apply to a game like this that could ultimately decide the conference?
I think you still you still have to take the same approach, and you have to. And we did that when we were facing Montana a couple weeks ago. You're not going to change things that you're doing. The only reason you change something has to do more with where you are as a team and where you need to be with structure in your practice, not so much who you're playing. Because I think throughout the year your practice structure sometimes changes, but in terms of basing it on who you're playing, that's never the case.
Ever any concern of the guys maybe getting too up and having to kind of taper some of that as kickoff approaches?
Yeah, but our guys are pretty even regardless. I mean, they do a good job of it, and obviously that was the concern going into Montana, and I thought they handled things well. They didn't, they handled, not a lot of times you jump, offsides or false start 5 times early in a game like that when you're 2 up, and they didn't. They just kind of settled in and played ball, and I think we'll do the same this weekend.
You have them at home. It's going to be your fans messing with them. How nice is that going to be for you guys?
Well, it's always nice to play at home and have our fans. We've had such great fan support, and these games have been sold out for weeks in advance, which is it's new territory for us at Eastern. I just appreciate that. Appreciate the fans. Appreciate the students that are coming out in groves, because we feed off that energy, and you should be able to create a home field advantage, and we certainly have this season especially.
You guys beat them last year. This year, are they going to have some sort of extra motivation? What's that like, knowing they're going to be coming for you?
Honestly, I don't think, regardless of what happened last year, either way, I think the fact that we're both, undefeated in conference right now, both top 5 teams, is the motivation. Less to do with what happened a year ago. So we're both different teams. It's a fresh start, and it's just going to be a great battle Saturday.
As this conference has been surprising, all of this is the first top 5 matchup in about 19 years.
Yeah, it is kind of, but sometimes I think that's because you beat each other up, and I think it's sometimes unfairly you might have a couple teams that are good enough to be top 5 caliber teams, but because you've beat each other up during the year, that sometimes it just never works out where it's 2 top 5 teams.
Does it feel like Daenerys McGee's been around in the Big Sky longer than you have?
Yeah, my gosh, I'm ready. I love him to death in terms of respect him and what he is as a player. But I won't shed any tears when he has to leave. But no, he's a great player. He's he kind of typifies what you want to in this conference in terms, and not just him as a player, but I also got to meet him in Park City this summer and just appreciate so much what type of person he is, and you can tell where he all the leadership qualities they're flowing when you get to be around him even for just a couple days.
Offensively, I mean, it starts with him, particularly this year. What has made them so dangerous? And you look at the scoring margins in the Big Sky, it's been kind of like you guys, a little silly.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they're really solid, really good at what they do. They run the ball first, even with Daenerys McGee, and then he'll strike when he needs to. But they do a really good job running the football. They stick to it. They're salty in the red zone, both offensively and defensively. But especially when you're talking about points being scored, they don't waste a lot of opportunities down there. They get points, and they create a lot of turnovers. And when you win the turnover battle and don't give it up much, you get a lot of short fields. So even in games where maybe your total yardages aren't huge, you can score a lot of points because you create a lot of those situations.
Vernon said that was a tough game for him last year at Montana State, and he said he's learned a lot since then. How do you see his progress in big games? He said he was kind of scared that game, and this year not.
Yeah, it's night and day when you watch. I mean, if you turn on that film and then you turn on this year's film at Montana or at Oregon State, it's night and day. And you go through that. He was a freshman, and it was only his, whatever start that was at that point, 3rd start, I think, at that point, or 4th start, whatever it was. And you're going to go through that. And you're going to go through those learning curves. And you like to think that, whenever you have a freshman quarterback, that a year later he's going to be a lot different. And he certainly is. But that also takes, his work ethic and getting to that point where he's comfortable with what he's doing and whatever the moment is. And he's certainly proven that he's taken that to another level.
Can you talk about the safeties, the new kids stepping in, and what changes you might make at safety, corner, and all that?
Oh, we're going to see how practice goes, and kind of make some decisions on if we move a guy from a position. But right now, Zach Bruce and Miles Weatherroy did a great job last week. We got Diamante Wiggins and Jordan Thompson, both ready to go and possibly getting a lot of reps. And if we add a fifth or a sixth guy, we'll see as we go through practice who that might be and who might fit that role.
Is there any other possible corners moving to safety?
Might know Saturday.
Okay.
So we'll find out.
Looking at film, how did they do against Idaho State?
I thought that those two safeties I mentioned, Miles Weatherroy and Zach Bruce, did a great job. So I was really pleased with how they played.
You mentioned after the game with Tevin going down, chance we could see him again this year. Any clear idea of his timeline?
I'm not sure, and I'm not really going to comment on that until I know facts. So I know it was it was a break, and they're checking to see what that'll be in terms of timeline. But we'll have a better idea of that, or I might have a better idea of that by week's end.